can make or break a person. How ironical it is that words which are created by man can be used to either make or break him. That means words which are part of vocabulary in the form of language are created by mankind for mere communication itself. What is communication? Basically, it is a medium to convey our thoughts, emotions, feelings, needs, desires, etc. through actions or language. Even though communication was in existence throughout the human evolution, it appears to be more organized and codified now. Hence, communication is a tool to ease what we want to convey and thereby avoid misunderstandings.
Is it actually serving its purpose in this present world though? If human beings have mastered the art of communication, then why communication between countries end up in war? Why words in social media can spread hatred among us? Why the words by someone from any corner of the world make you and I get offended here? Why there is a divide in the society if we had communicated well? Why there exists dysfunctionality among families? Why there are misunderstandings in relationships? Why aren't we efficient enough to calm ourselves when it comes to overthinking? Words are so powerful than we can imagine. They're not just letters and phrases, but more of frequency. Words that are spoken resonate certain kind of energy in the individual.
If you think this is bizarre, it is quite normal to think so. It is completely fine to be skeptical about it. When you are in the quest of knowing, it can involve difference of opinions. What we are about to explore further might give a new perspective to it. What I'm going to tell you now is based on a true event. Mother receives a sealed envelope addressed to her by school headmistress where her son studies. She opens and reads it to her curious son. Quote,
Your son is a genius. School is too small for him and doesn't have enough good teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself.
Fast forward to many years later, son finds the same letter in his drawer while he was reorganizing his old belongings. It was the same letter read by his late mother, and now he wishes to read it himself. And as he begins reading it, the light of joy on his face disappears because the letter conveyed the following.
Your son is addled. He is mentally slow and unable to think clearly. Do not let him come to school anymore.
He cried for hours together, but then wrote on his diary, saying Thomas Alva Edison was an adult, mentally ill child, that by a hero mother he became the genius of this century.
In other instances, if we can recall some of the stories connected to our roots, like that of Hanuman, who nearly grabbed the sun, mistaking it for a mango. Understanding his highest potentials, all Devatas and Rishis decided to take away all his superpowers from him during his childhood and to return them at the time of necessity in the future. Due to which, Hanuman will not be able to remember his abilities until he meets Sri Ram.
He became his staunch disciple and promises to find and bring Ma Sita back to him. In this quest, Jambavan, the king of bears, eldest of all, having wisdom of all times, felt it is the right time and his responsibility to become a medium in helping Hanuman unleash his truest potentials by constant affirmations and taking him to the memory lane. That is how Hanuman was able to recall his powers to grow larger in size, to cross the wildest of the oceans in a single leap to reach Lanka.
If this is one of the instances from Ramayana, we can also take relevance from another instance from epic Mahabharata. During the war of Kurukshetra, Prince Abhimanyu was able to enter one of the strongest military formations known as Chakravyuh. It was an unbreachable labyrinth designed by Guru Dronacharya.
If this formation would have served its purpose, it would have favored the Kauravas in the war. But to the contrary, Prince Abhimanyu was not only able to breach this formation, but managed to reach the center of it. Until then, he was successful enough to single-handedly take down all the enemies who got in his way.
When Abhimanyu was a fetus in his mother's womb, she happened to once listen to her husband Arjuna while he was trying to break down how to breach Chakravyuha. Fetus in the womb to be born as Abhimanyu was also listening to the same. That is why the story of Abhimanyu breaching the Chakravyuha stands out not merely for him to breach it, but to be able to do so without undergoing any formal training.
This was done only through the visualization and explanation he heard while he was in his mother's womb. If we look into recent Indian history, we can find one more such instance, that of Chanakya, who was also known as Kautilya, who authored the ancient Indian political text called Arthashastra, was once humiliated and thrown out of the court of Nandas while he had come to share his wisdom on how to stop Alexander's further invasion. At that time, Chanakya takes an oath to uproot the entire Nanda dynasty.
This is how Chanakya could convert those words of humiliation he faced into a challenge, thereby making them as daily dose of motivation to a teenager in molding him into becoming an emperor named Chandragupta Maurya and resulting in the decline of Nanda dynasty. There was this famous story of Angulimala who lived in the forest, ending the lives of villagers as he was ruthless and evil person who had almost lost the touch of humanity. He was called as Angulimala because he used to cut off the fingers of the deceased and made a garland out of them as a reward for himself and to record the count of all the people he had managed to slay.
Once this Angulimala came across Buddha, tried every possibility to kill him using his physical strength, but Buddha, just by his mere words and calm approach, was successful in bringing back Angulimala to his senses as a human being. All these instances we have narrated so far depicts how powerful the words spoken or heard can be, like how positive affirmations replaced the words of discouragement, led a boy to focus only on the possibility to achieve, and made him a greatest scientist of all times.
Being the mightiest of the mightiest, the Hanuman could also forget how capable he was until he overcame the self-doubt with the words of clarity by Jambavan. Words can penetrate through our system and can have a greater impact, like in the case of Abhimanyu, who could perceive all that he had heard while he was in the womb, which became an upper hand to him during the war. In the case of humiliation and defeat, words that are used against us, if taken as a challenge, can elevate you to the different stage in life, as seen in Chanakya's case.
It is so ironical that when pleasant words of wisdom can transform the cruelest of the cruel to become more human, whereas an abusive words or a taunt can change a human to turn into a beast. Words can make or break a person. Therefore, we have to be mindful of the words spoken to others as well as the words spoken to ourselves. We hope you enjoyed this content and it has given you a different perspective.
If so, please do share it across. Until next time, turn on your mind and stay tuned.